Welcome to Tunnel Vision. I am Adam Connor-Bourne, joined today by David Scarcella in the USA and Shane Smelts. Lads, how are we? How's it going?
Good, Ads. Good to be back, mate.
Good, how are you?
Good to see you. David
good to have you guys
Scarcella,
on.
where are you? Where are you these days, mate?
Well, I'm trekking back through LA, back through Dallas, through New York. I'm doing the US and on my way home, mate. Looking forward to getting myself back down under.
Sensational. Well, Dave, you have been following the World Cup all around, and we are at that kind of tail end of things now. Just to get onto that, we're obviously very much nearing that tail end, and it seems to me that it's been a big tournament for big teams. I'm just wondering what you think the reason it's been a tournament for these big teams is, and what you've noticed, if there's anything that you have noticed that's really stood out to you up to this point.
I think it's been a big. I mean, it's not too dissimilar to most World Cups. All the big teams always come through. You know, you have your upsets, and but we've seen the same suspects come through to this business end. France are obviously doing well. You know, England. This will be their second semi-final if they get through this round again. So we're starting to see again dominated by big European countries. Again, Norway's been maybe the smoky, but they seem to be progressing through the tournament well, and you know it's no surprise because they qualified superbly. I think there's been some upsets earlier on, and there's been some. I think we've seen the gap, like we've spoken about previously, the gap across all of the countries definitely close. So we're seeing games that are going, Argentina nearly getting beaten. We're seeing those upsets, but as a whole, I think we're seeing the teams that we expect to be here at this stage.
Same to you, Shane, mate. Anything that you've noticed in that initial period?
Yeah, I agree, Ads. I mean, I think given the fact that there's been more games at this tournament, more teams, there's been loads of talking points, isn't there? And I think you get to this stage now and you start to think about who's going to go and win it, who's scoring goals, who's in form. I think flying under the radar is Spain at the moment. I mean, obviously they played this morning. I just think they're not necessarily exciting me in terms of their goal scoring, but if you look at their record, they've conceded one goal and they're into the semi-finals, right? So I think I had a look. I mean, there's only 3 teams in the history of the World Cup that have done that, achieved that. And they've gone on to do some special things at the tournament. So they're looking really good. I think it's remarkable that they've only conceded one goal, and that was this morning against Belgium.
Yeah, but are they a surprise? Spain comes into this tournament not being beaten in something like 800 and something days. I don't know. Is that a surprise? I think if you look at this World Cup and them leading into it.
I'm not necessarily saying it's a surprise. I think we all probably expected them to get this far, but I think how they're doing it is actually surprising me. I normally, they're a possession-based team. They're killing teams in terms of keeping the ball, and they're doing that. And they're not necessarily the finished article. They're not putting away all their chances. They're probably trying to pass the ball into the net. But to keep teams out, I don't look at them and go, you're an unbelievably superior defensive team. But they're showing that at this tournament. And when I look at the stats, no team has done it to this extent. So they've played an extra game, given the format, and they've conceded less goals than any team in the history. So I think they're in a good place. I think they've got a real challenge next against France. That's going to be the big test for them. But I'm all about attacking play. But looking at their defense, that's really impressed me.
It's funny you say that. I think when you combine their defensive nous at this World Cup, which is really historically not what we see out of a Spanish side, going back as early as the early 90s and going back that far, defensively has always been their issue. But they've really nutted that down. And then you look at the other side, the flip side of it, they've actually made more passes than any other team in this World Cup so far.
Yeah,
really interesting. I agree. They've been going about, and we said this last time also, they're going about their business quietly. They're doing it the way they need to do it, and they're just wearing teams down, and that's by keeping the ball and being defensively very tight.
Without Lamine Yamal hitting the mark. He's been quiet, and he's got to be their big star at the minute. I agree. Spain have been a surprise to me in the way that they've played, not necessarily the point to which they've progressed. I think I agree with that on you, Dave. But yeah, I think I watched the Belgian game and I didn't think that they looked great, but they looked solid. They came up against the Belgian team who were really stubborn and difficult to get around, and they managed to get those 2 goals. And like you said, Shane, concede that first goal of the entire tournament, which is wild, considering we've got that additional game in the new format.
Yeah.
Talking about good games, I think we witnessed the game of the season recently, which was England 3, Mexico 2. I just wonder if you guys, I, as an Englishman, can absolutely not take this game in any sort of unbiased way. So I don't know if you two could just talk me through your thoughts on that. If you saw what I was seeing, or if there's anything that you observed during that game that you thought was particularly interesting, which made it the game of the tournament so far.
I think from my end, I saw Dave, I think, was speaking to you prior on the pod and came up with some good points about England, getting to this stage, but not necessarily looking amazing. And I agree to some extent, but I think this is something in me tells me this game against Mexico was a turning point for them. You've seen bits and pieces off the field and how they interacted with the crowd and how they are in the change room. And I think they're probably in the best place they've been in a long time. They've got their critics. England have always got their critics, but I just feel like they're building that momentum and they're getting more people believing in them that they can actually go and do something. I've got a feeling they're actually going to go to the final, which is a big statement because they've got to get past probably Argentina on the way and a big match against Norway next up as well, which is never easy. But I just feel like they're building something at the right time. They ticked off a lot of boxes in that Mexico game, and you can see the relief and the confidence build in 90 minutes, and I think they put out a big statement. They had to overturn a Mexico side that haven't lost at that ground for a long, long time, 13 years or so. And yeah, I just feel like the history of that as well. England have had a history at that stadium as well. So there's so much build up to that game, and they come through it with flying colours in the end.
Just on that performance, like we've absolutely mentioned on previous pods that we don't think England looked particularly convincing. I think from where I'm standing, we keep getting results, but I completely agree. We do not look convincing. I don't think we look like a team stacked with superstars like that England side is. Do you think there's a point at which where they run out of the ability to just get things over the line and they have to start playing well? I mean, look at France. France have been incredible basically throughout the entire tournament. Do you think England need to step up and play well now and not just get over the line, not just get the result, so to speak?
Yeah, go on, Dave. Jump on that one.
Yeah, I think so. When you've seen, countries that have won World Cups in the past, you see Italy won it in 2006, weren't overly, convincing right through that tournament, but they built through that tournament and then they came through and obviously did the business against France. And we see that, I think we've seen that pretty much consistently along a lot of these World Cups, and especially now with the extra round, it's almost like more of a journey and you build to that. And I think Turkle made a good point. I watched an interview yesterday. He came out and basically said, well, he hasn't picked the best players from England for this England squad. He's come out and he's picked the best team, right? So, and what we're seeing is probably a team that's gelling at the right time. And then your big guns like your Rice, your Bellinghams, they're coming up, they're standing up, and with Harry Kane as well there, who's works exceptionally hard and just knows he's always got a goal in him. They've got an exceptional squad, so I think they're looking good to kick on. For me, that's where my money is at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just, Thomas Tuchel's had his critics, hasn't he, come into the tournament, selections, all the rest of it. But I think you can see now, as I said, people are starting to believe in the team that he's built, and I think he's got that team. They've always carried the weight of really, really good teams on paper. Fantastic teams on paper, and can they produce on the pitch? And I think he's now got this team not worried about reputations and really just playing. I don't want to say playing for the badge because I think they've always done that, but I think they're playing for a purpose. They look like a real team at the moment. Certainly no egos, and they just want to go as far as they can in the tournament. I just sense there's a little bit of something different to what they've had in the past. There was big moments in that Mexico game. Big players stood up. Jude Bellingham, of course, and Harry Kane and others. And I think they've really gained some momentum from that match going into this one. On paper, they should beat Norway. It's never as easy as that, though, as what's on paper. And I think their one sort of question mark, if you look for me, is their back line when they come up against really good attacks. That's their only sort of real question mark. Fullback areas. Imagine them up against Argentina or France. That's going to be the big test for them.
Just on that back line, Dave, obviously as a goalkeeper yourself, Jordan Pickford's come into a little bit of criticism recently, maybe not dealing with some of the balls in particularly well, maybe at fault for a couple of the goals that we've conceded. Is there anything that you noticed there that you'd are worried about from a goalkeeper perspective, or would you say it's the back line and the goalkeeper that weakness is coming from?
I think he's been exceptional. He was exceptional against Mexico. And listen, he's an eccentric type of character. So he's not that rock solid, 6'4" in goals. So when you look at him, you're like, he's all over the place. But he's been an absolute killer for England. And he's been one of the main reasons and a big form of stability for England, which is why they're vying for their second semi-final spot in the last 2 World Cups. So no, I think he's been excellent. I don't think you can cast too much criticism against him.
On to Norway. Norway have never been at this stage in a World Cup before. It's the first World Cup since 1998. They recently knocked out a weakened and not particularly great Brazil side, I would say. Haaland has scored twice in that game as well. Now, with Norway, you've said, Shane, that you expect England to beat Norway on paper. How much is this team just Haaland, and how much is it the team itself? And do you see that they can get past England if it comes to it?
I think given the fact, the form that Haaland's in, he is carrying them a long way, let's be honest. But looking at the Brazil game, every single player played well. Goalkeeper Haaland, I think, was arguably man of the match with Haaland. He had an outstanding match, kept everything out. It was an absolute brick wall at the back. The problem is they need to continue that level to go any further in this tournament. So can they sustain that form? That's the key. They're not as big a nation as England. We know that. They haven't got as many stars on paper, but they've managed to do it so far. And you look at everything that's going around that team, circulating around that team. They are riding high. They're in confidence streak. So that goes a long way as well. It's pressure versus confidence. I think England will go in with more pressure. Have they built enough confidence from the Mexico game? Do they believe they've got enough confidence and quality to overpass Norway? I think they do, but Norway have got nothing to lose. They've got a world-class striker in form. They've got players surrounding him that are riding the wave with him and loving this moment, this stage. The fans are loving it. So they're bringing a lot to the table, and they're not going to be easy beats, that's for sure.
Haaland has scored 7 of Norway's 12 goals. Do you think there is an over-reliance on Haaland as an individual versus the team itself?
I think it's impossible not to have an over-reliance. I think he's the most dangerous striker in the world by far. I mean, strikers like Harry Kane and Mbappe, they bring something else. But this guy, his threat from goal starts 30, 40 metres out. And, his ability to get in and behind, his strength is really quite phenomenal to watch, And then, you've got Odegaard that sits in and behind, and he's been exceptional this World Cup as well. I think what we'll see Norway probably let England have the run of the play a little bit, let them have the ball, and then they'll look to sit off. And if they can exploit Haaland on that sort of counter-attack, then I think that's how they'll probably set up. And, they'll probably try to frustrate England and not give England too many holes to sort of break them down. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I've seen some clips of out in Miami. It's going to be hot, it's humid. It's really humid through the US at the moment. So I think it's going to be from a physical aspect, it's going to be really tolling. But these guys are absolute professionals. So I think it's going to be a great game, a great spectacle.
Just sticking with you, David, onto a match prediction for Norway versus England. What's your prediction for the game? Final score and how it's won, basically.
I think it'll finish 2-2 and go to extra time, and England win it in extra time.
Nice. Shane, same for you, mate.
Yeah, I think we were talking so much about Haaland. Why he's such an asset is because Norway can play a couple of different ways. They can sit off if they like, and having a beast up front like him, they can just literally launch it, and he can create something in terms of just getting hold of the ball. Whereas they can also potentially pin England back, and he's also a threat that way. So he's a threat all over the pitch, and they've shown this tournament they've got a couple of different ways they can play. So they're comfortable all over the pitch is what I see. But I think England will have enough to get the job done. They're obviously going to have to keep Haaland quiet. I potentially see him scoring, to be honest, because he's so hard. He's scored in every game so far, isn't he? So he could score, but I think England will get the job done in the 90 minutes, 2-1.
I think it's going to be so physically demanding for this game that the substitutes and how the managers on each side play their substitution and at which time they play them, and tactically, technically how they come on will play a massive part in this game just because of how physically demanding I think the conditions are going to be up in Miami.
Maybe we'll get a couple of extra hydration breaks as well, lads, in there.
We need 4 per quarter. One of the two. Now we're at this kind of really late stage, just to move it on. We've obviously just mentioned I think we all see a good chance that England get to that final. If you could tell me who you think, based on everyone we've seen, based on all the teams play and score and win and lose, who is it that you think is going to be in the final and who's going to be the winner of the overall at this, your prediction at this stage, please?
Go on,
Go on,
Scott.
Schmelzer. Go on, mate.
All right,
You
I'll go
usually
with that
get
one. Look,
you usually get it wrong, so you have a crack, mate.
I'll have a go. You follow mine. Look, I think I came out before the tournament and said France, and I know a lot of people have, and rightly so. I think you've seen enough from them. I think they're going to be in the final for sure. And then you look at the other end. I've predicted England doing the job. I've got a feeling Argentina have been fantastic as well. Messi great again. Have they got quite the legs and the energy to keep going? It's an extra step this tournament. I feel like England have got the squad, if they click and build that confidence from Mexico, just to go all the way to the final. So an England-France final for me. And sadly, though, I think France have got too much for England. If you look at England's defence and you look at that front four, I think that's one of the best front fours we've seen in history of football. Going back in the World Cup compared to, you'd have to compare the likes of when, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo were playing all together.
Yep.
That is a really dynamic, energetic, electric front four that I think can beat any team on their day.
Yeah, so I sort of agree with Schmelzy a little bit, but not think he'll get it wrong.
Shit, that must
Usually,
hurt, David. That must hurt.
usually does. No, I think if we look at the left side of it, I think Spain get through. I think Spain go through to the final. Just again, what we spoke about earlier, they've been so comprehensive with the ball, defensively been so good. So I see them progressing through. On the right side, I think whoever wins between Argies, I think there's something brewing with the Argentinians. There's something in the air. You can tell in the dressing rooms, the clips. There's something happening there, which could be, another cap for Messi. I think whoever wins out of that Argentina-England game, if it does eventuate in the semi-final, I think whoever wins that game will win the World Cup.
Big
Thank you very
statement. I love
much.
it. There's some big statements there for you.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Ronaldinho, I spoke to a few members of his camp yesterday, and they all think it's going to be England. So, not to get excited or anything, lads, but the big man thinks it's going to be England. So here we go. Okay, on to the quick fire questions. Thank you very much. So, right, just to keep us on the upcoming game, Kane or Haaland? Smelsley, we'll start with you, mate. Oh, I can't talk. Smelsley, we'll start with you, mate.
In terms of what? Just
Take him tomorrow. Who you having? Yeah, which one on the team?
If it's a one-off game, if I had to take someone in tomorrow to win a game, I'm taking Haaland. I think, and I'm a big fan of Kane, but I just think Haaland right now is an absolute threat, a beast all over the pitch, and I'd take him.
David, say for you, mate, Kane or Haaland?
I think I'd take Kane just because of his leadership.
Just because
qualities.
I said Haaland. That's why.
Well, again, you usually get it wrong. Yeah, you did influence my opinion a little bit, but I just Kane defensively and his leadership qualities second to none. Yeah. So, yeah, for me, I'm taking him.
I'm English, so Harry Kane all the way. Cheers. On to the second one. One player from this World Cup, regardless of whether they're still playing at the World Cup, they've been eliminated or yet to play. One player from this World Cup that you'd sign tomorrow for your team of choice. So, David, we'll stick with you on that one, mate.
I'm going to go for Young Harrington for me, and
wow.
What we saw in the short space of time that Australia were that he played for Australia in this World Cup, he was exceptional. We can see like a lot of the rumor mill that's coming out. There's a lot of interest from all of the big clubs in Europe. So if I look at one player that's like exceptionally young, who's really stood out, who's been a bit of a surprise packet, probably not for us because we know the kid, but for the rest of the world, yeah, I would go for him.
Shane?
Sorry, Ed, confirm the question for me.
One player from this World Cup, whether it's a player that's still currently playing right now or they've been eliminated before this point, but one player that you'd sign for your club tomorrow, whichever club that may be, mate.
Oh, mate, it's Elise all day for me. Elise, I think he is. I just love watching that guy. I love watching him. He's silky. He's smooth. He's unlike any other winger in the world. And I know he hasn't scored at this tournament so far, but that's how good he is. He hasn't scored, and I still love watching him. He makes them tick. He sees passes, people do not know how to defend him because he can
Yeah.
create. And I don't think he knows what he's doing when he's on the ball. He just creates things. I love he's like an artist playing for me. So I love watching him play. I'd sign him all day long. I think he's the best wing in the world at the minute.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw my arrow in here and say I think Declan Rice has been exceptional. Versatility-wise, we've seen him in that central midfield role. We've seen him get forward. We've seen him play at right back. I think, obviously, he's done incredibly well at Arsenal and will continue to do incredibly well at Arsenal. But I think from where I'm sitting, if I'm looking at bringing a top-class player in, he offers so much. He might not be quite as silky as Elise, but I think he's really there.
Ads, I think what you're proving from all your answers is that you haven't watched any other team than England this tournament.
Slightly biased. You're not English, are you?
I don't know. I've not been there for a while, so we'll see about that one. But yeah, I mean, it's coming out. It's coming out. See what happens. I've said a million times I will make the 24-hour flight home if we get to that final. So you might miss me for 72 hours when we get there. But we're kind of going that way. Two last questions for me. First one: which prediction did you both get wrong pre-tournament? So I'll give you my one. I thought Germany were going to get into the final four. Nope. I just wonder what your guys, if there's anything that you got horrendously wrong. I mean, if you don't want to say, please feel free to kind of dodge the question. But David, will start with you, mate.
I think I did pick Germany to go to do well at this World Cup. They've got they're stacked with individual talent, but it just never gelled. It never kicked on. But yeah, no, I think most of the other things I've picked, I think I've got them right. I usually go against Schmelzy, so that's probably why.
For me, I don't know. Listening to that question, initially, I just thought something I got wrong going into the tournament before it even kicked off. I have to say I wasn't a big fan of the format, 48 teams. Now looking at it, I have to say I am. I do think there's a few things that need to be tweaked in the World Cup. We've discussed a few of those things in the past, but looking at it in general, I'm a big fan of it now. I think once you get to the round of 32 and its knockout stage, it just becomes super exciting, more drama, more entertainment. And I think you can see why it's gone that way. And I'm a bit of a fan of it. So I think I got that one wrong.
Listen, at the end of the day, this beast of a tournament, and it's super exciting. It comes around once every 4 years, and to add another round within this whole crazy mix, how can you not want it? So again, there were some doubts whether it would affect the overall quality, but some of those little minnows that have come in, those small countries, have done exceptionally well, and it's created another edge. So I think I disagreed with you at the time, but I'm glad you flipped on that one there, Belter.
Yeah, I've changed on that one.
And then final question from me: which player or team has surprised you the most? So for me, Cape Verde, absolutely incredible. I think they were tactically the most interesting team at this World Cup, probably. Just from the way in which they approached the games and the way in which they tried to control what they could control. But yeah, I'm interested with you guys. Shane, what are you saying? The most team or player that has surprised you the most? Yeah, got you thinking of on mate.
I've got to go with Norway. I think it's what they've achieved so far, and they're not done yet. Yeah, we all knew Haaland, but to be honest, I thought Haaland would do well, but could the rest of the team stand up as well? And I think they have. They've been brilliant. Scored a heap of goals regularly. Yes, they concede a few, but they're playing a good brand of football, and they're on the verge of going to a semi-final for a small nation, really, like Norway. It's a remarkable feat.
And then Dave, for you, team or player that surprised you the most?
Yeah, so probably the Norway one doesn't surprise me as much. I sort of get it if you probably weren't watching him in the qualifiers, but because I was watching him so closely and so keen to see how Italy ended up, you saw their quality all the way through. I mean, it's definitely a surprise to the world how they've progressed now to this stage and how they're definitely a chance to go on. For me, like one of the big surprises, and just the way they went about their football and how close they were, and watching them live was probably Egypt. I think they were very well organised. They were dangerous in wide areas. They took it to the death against RGs. Probably 9 times out of 10, that 2-0 lead's enough to get them through. Salah he's not dominating, but he still had something very special and very unique, and watching him live was great. I think between them and maybe Mexico, and watching the quality of football that Mexico played, two of the ones that sort of I looked at and went, wow, that was interesting. Obviously the Cape Verde one, yes. Everyone's going to say that, but those two for me, every time I watch them play, I was like, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, Egypt.
Okay.
Egypt come out the blocks, didn't they, with the match against Argentina? I think watching them in the group, because I watched them obviously with the All Whites in the group, they weren't fantastic in the group. They had a couple of real average performances. I think they played themselves into form against the All Whites in the second half, and then from there they just sort of built momentum. And yeah, they were pretty good value after that. But
And they did
Yeah,
the
so-
same against they did the same against Australia. They had some periods of that match where they struggled, they got opened up a little bit, but as a whole, as you just said, they built into the game, and then they had those real purple periods where they absolutely dominated, and they had lots of quality wide. So yeah, it was I thought that was fine.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Well, that is all we've got time for on today's Tunnel Vision. Thank you very much, David Scarcella, Shane Smelts. I will see you both again soon. Thank you.
See you, boys.
cheers, fellas.
See
See
Come
you
on,
on the
guys.
England.
side. See ya.
Come on, England. Come on, England.
It's coming home. It's all right.
All right. See you guys.
See you, fellas.